I would like to welcome everybody to the first installment of the Day 2 podcast. Now, it's starting a little late in the NFL season, but I thought I'd give it a shot to talk about, And one of the newest things released was the AP finalists for each NFL award. And so I'm going to give my rankings and my predictions to who's going to win each award. So for MVP, they have Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes. Pretty easy list. We got the top three quarterbacks, somebody who went almost undefeated for the entire season, and the best receiver in the game. But honestly, I think the award very clearly should go to Patrick Mahomes. I don't think anybody else really has a case over him. And if you're going to give anybody a case, it should be Justin Jefferson. No doubt, but everybody knows that a wide receiver isn't going to be that guy that wins the MVP because it's a quarterback award now. The quarterback is the most valuable position on the field, and therefore they're going to get the most valuable player award each and every year. Probably for the next 5 years at least, until social media gets to the point where it controls the narrative so much where we can decide the biggest award just by sending out a few tweets. Just like how in the NBA last year, everybody decided that guards could win Defensive Player of the Year as well instead of centers. And then Marcus Smart, who wasn't even the best defending guard, got the award. And I mean, that's a small award, but if we can control that, who's to say we can't control who wins the MVP? But even with that said, I think Patrick Mahomes is the guy that should win it and is going to. Next, we have the Defensive Player of the Year, in which they have pretty clear options. They have Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, Micah Parsons. Honestly, even though Micah Parsons is a really good player and somebody who I expect to win a lot of Defensive Player of the Years, even because this is just his second year and he's in the conversation again for the second time, I think Nick Bosa wins it very clearly. He's the best player on the best defense, and it's just he's led the league so much defensively that I think you just have to give it to him as default. And then Offensive Player of the Year, they listed Tyreek Hill, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, and Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, I can't say anything about these four players. There's nothing to complain about here. These are probably the four best offensive players that we've seen. And I think if you're not going to give it to Patrick Mahomes because he won the MVP, you have to give it to Justin Jefferson. Early in the year, I probably would have said Tyreek Hill because he was the reason the Dolphins have been successful. But I think now that we're further into the year and we saw what Justin Jefferson was able to keep up, Tyreek Hill wasn't able to keep up the pace of his success and go to almost break the receiving record. Justin Jefferson was a few good games away from breaking the record, and then defenses decided, hey, we're gonna actually do something about this now. And what do you know, the Vikings stopped winning once Justin Jefferson stopped producing as high as he did. But yeah, I think Justin Jefferson should be the clear winner. If not him, it should be Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Jalen Hurts quite deserves an award yet. I think he had an amazing season, but I think a lot of it was because of the team that was built around him. And you can say that for a lot of guys. Of course, you need a good team to be successful, but I think to a certain point, it's like, okay, I had that team around me, but was I the winning piece to that team? I think you put Patrick Mahomes to that Eagles offense, they're going undefeated again. I mean, I know they didn't go completely undefeated, but they're going to do the same results. So I think it wasn't completely Jalen Hurts, even though he balled out. I don't discredit Jalen Hurts. He played great, and I expect him to do better next year. But I think it's not all him. And for that reason, I really don't think he should be the front runner for any award. Now we get to the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is probably their most questionable finalists. They have Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, and Garrett Wilson. I can't argue against Kenneth Walker and Garrett Wilson. You just can't. They're probably the two front runners. And I can't be mad at if you pick one of them. But Brock Purdy should not be a finalist. I understand he's undefeated and he could lead his team to the Super Bowl with one more win. But you just can't do that. Like, he didn't start until week 13. He played 5 games in the regular season. You can't you can't just award somebody that they were the best rookie when they only played 5 games. It's such a small sample size. You can't really tell how good they were. Like, we can't just call Cooper Rush the best player because he won 3 out of 4 games. Like, you can't, like, that's just not fair to the other people. I think there's a lot of other rookies that could have made this list. I think Chris Olave should have been probably number 3, even though I don't think he would have won it. I think they just put Brock Purdy there just because, he's been like one of the biggest stories of the offseason, or not the offseason, but the postseason. But even with him being there, he shouldn't win it in the slight. He has no reason to win it. And I love his story. I love Brock Purdy. I think he has the potential to be a great player if he, keeps up this kind of production. But it just doesn't feel right to have him be the guy that we say, oh yeah, he was the best player to come out of this draft class this year. No, I honestly want to give it to Kenneth Walker, but I think the injury kind of screwed him. Same with Breece Hall. Breece Hall probably was easily the front runner until he tore his ACL. Kenneth Walker got injured for a couple weeks. So I think we're going to give it to Garrett Wilson. And, if we had a top 15 quarterback, then he would have produced a lot more than he did. But even with the production he already had, I think he still has a case for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And so I'm going to give it to him. Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year, we have the top 3 defensive players, 100%. Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson, Tariq Woolen. Honestly, the last couple of weeks, Sauce Gardner, kind of not getting as much attention. It kind of turned to Tariq Woolen. But even with that, I think you just have to go Sauce Gardner. He had such an amazing season for a rookie. He's already probably a top 5 cornerback in the league. And to do that as a rookie, I think you just have to have him win that reward. He deserves it more than probably any other guy. And Aiden Hutchinson played great. Tariq Woolen played great. There's a lot of players that play great, but I mean, just Sauce Gardner was just on a different level that you can't fathom a rookie to start at. And the Jets got such a good pick with him. Now, Comeback Player of the Year is where we're getting kind of questionable. Saquon and Christian McCaffrey are really the only people that I would classify for this award, but they also have Geno Smith. Personally, I don't think you should have Comeback Player of the Year have somebody be reviving their career. I don't think that's what the award stands for. I think that award should stand for who came back from a bad injury and then was able to just ball out again. And so that's why I think Saquon and McCaffrey should really be the only 2 people in consideration. Sure, Geno Smith, he was a bust, and then, he wasn't even starting, and now he's a starter, and he led his team to the playoffs. I just don't think that's what Comeback Player of the Year should be. I don't think we should have it be something that we reward somebody for sucking and then becoming good. We shouldn't have that. I think if you want to do that, there should be a most improved player, in which Geno Smith 100% would get that. I would vote for that 100%. But he didn't come back from anything. He just came back. He just got better. He didn't come back. He just got better. Now, Saquon, he had an injury. He had a pretty bad injury. And he comes back and was probably one of the sole reasons why the Giants were able to do what they were doing. And McCaffrey, he's one of the reasons why the 49ers haven't had to slow down despite starting 3 different quarterbacks this season. And, it's McCaffrey has been good, but Saquon has just captured. At the beginning of the season, Saquon was easily the top runner for this award. There was no other question. Then obviously he started to slow down. With that happens because it's a position where you can only do so much. And, production slows down once you get towards the end of the season. That's happened to Saquon. McCaffrey kind of the opposite. Carolina, he didn't do much. He got traded. And then he's led the 49ers to a lot of success. So I think it's between one of those 2. Personally, I think I'm going to give it to Saquon just because I think he's come back from a tougher injury. But if you choose McCaffrey, then I can't say anything. It's really just personal preference at that point. Now, Coach of the Year, the last award I have here. They have Brian Daboll, Sean McDermott, Doug Peterson, Kyle Shanahan, and Nick Sirianni. And there's a lot of good coaches here, but there's one person that shouldn't be here, and that's Sean McDermott. He has, honestly, I don't think he's done anything to help Buffalo. I mean, sure, he hasn't hurt Buffalo, but Josh Allen is able to lead that team to so much success. And I think giving Sean McDermott the credit for it is just ridiculous. It's just not. He isn't able to help them get over the hump that they need to get over. They need a better coach to be able to get over that hump that they're just not able to get over. So I think he should be ruled out permanent. Like, he should not even be a finalist. And the next person I would say to rule out is Nick Sirianni. I mean, that team is structured amazingly, and yeah, he built a really good system for Jalen Hurts to succeed in. But I don't think that I don't think that he should be up there with Shanahan, Peterson, and Daboll for this year. I think if you want to put him in the conversation, I'm not going to be mad, but I don't think he really is that person to put in the conversation. Now, Kyle Shanahan's probably going to be the next person I take out because, you know, he's dealt with a quarterback making his first season starts with Trey Lance, and they weren't that successful. And then Trey Lance get hurt, so you bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, you kind of expect success there because, you know, Jimmy Garoppolo was their starter last season. It's not like he's a bad quarterback. They just wanted to try to get a rebuild going without having to restart their entire team. And then Jimmy Garoppolo goes out week 13. They bring in the last pick of the draft, and they're undefeated with him. I think Kyle Shanahan deserves all of the credit for how that team is operating and how successful that team is, which just goes back to my point of Brock Purdy shouldn't be the rookie of the year because it's not him. It's really just the system. He fits that system so well. His throws just kind of remind me of Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's not a bad thing. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a really good quarterback, and I think that having Brock Purdy be the rookie of the year, you're saying that he makes more plays than Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall. You're saying that he makes better plays than that, and that's just not true. And honestly, back to my Breece Hall point, if we're going to give Brock Purdy a finalist for playing 5 games, we should have Breece Hall in that conversation too, because he played more games. Just because he got hurt doesn't mean that he should automatically be out of the conversation when he played more games than one of the finalists. That's just ridiculous. But back to the Coach of the Year. Shanahan built a really good offense, but that team has so many weapons. It's honestly just like the Nick Sirianni thing. So many weapons. And I think Shanahan helps that offense more than Sirianni helps the Eagles' offense. But even still, it's not good enough for me to say he's the reason that they are successful, which he is, but not more than Daboll or Peterson. And those are my 2 guys that I think anybody could pick. Personally, I'm going to go Brian Daboll because he was able to revitalize Daniel Jones into being a good quarterback. Daniel Jones looked good this season. I don't care what anybody says. He looked good. He didn't look like Danny Dimes. He didn't look like Daniel Jones. He looked like Danny Dimes. It's kind of funny. But I mean, Doug Peterson has a great case to be Coach of the Year because he took a second-year quarterback, a team that wasn't expected to do anything, and led them to the playoffs, had a playoff win over one of the better talented teams with the Chargers, and gave the Chiefs a fight, honestly. Even though Mahomes went out, they still put up a fight. But I think Brian Daboll just did more for the Giants than Peterson did for the Jaguars this year. But I think both of them everybody on this list is a really good coach, except Sean McDermott. I honestly don't like Sean McDermott. But if you wanted to give it to any 4 guys, those 4 guys are the guys I really wouldn't complain about. But since we're done with the award finalists, let's get into the weekend picks for the championship round. So personally, for the AFC Championship, I have the Bengals beating the Chiefs. And it's not because, they're 3-0 against the Chiefs. Like, yeah, that plays a part into it. Obviously, the Bengals know how to beat the Chiefs. But Mahomes has a high ankle sprain. And he's practicing Wednesday for the first time. Wednesday is his first practice for the game. And to be able to have to miss that time and be injured, I think Joe Burrow is such a good winner that no matter what happens, I think he will be able to lead his team to win that game. I think that's the X factor. Joe Burrow performing at a high level. Honestly, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to. But we saw earlier in the season when he just wasn't able to perform at the same level he did. But then at the same time, it's a different mind season. It's not week 2. It's the champion. It's what gets you in the Super Bowl. And I just think Joe Burrow has that mentality to be able to just get there. He just wins. And that's one of the reasons why I like him over the Chiefs. He just wins. And Mahomes tries to do that, but I think the team around him kind of just fails to execute that. We saw that I know it was 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, but against the Buccaneers. He didn't have that team around him that wanted to win. And he was doing everything he could. Mahomes is a very talented quarterback, the best quarterback in the league. But Burrow is the best winner. That's just what I think. And for the NFC side, I have the Eagles over the 49ers. I think it's time to just unanimously. I think it's time for everybody to agree. I think it's time for everybody to agree that the Eagles are the best team in the league. There's no doubt about it. They are the most talented, most stacked, best performing team in the league. And I think that their offense and defense are both extremely well. That no matter how well the 49ers defense plays, unless they get a stop every single drive, which obviously isn't going to happen, they're going to beat the 49ers. Because I think the Eagles have a top 5 defense in the league. Personally, that's what I would say. Probably about 5th. But I think their offense is going to put them over the edge. They're going to score more points than Brock Purdy is going to be able to produce against that defense. It's going to be, I think it has the potential to be a good game, or the Eagles are going to treat them like mud. The 49ers really, I don't think, have a strong case to be favorites against the Eagles. There's no reason they should be. Anyway, beyond that, Tom Brady, he on his podcast, whatever it's called, I forget, said something about, he was asked about his retirement, and he said if he had a decision already, he would have announced something. Honestly, Tom Brady, he's at the point where he's just, his legacy is what's carrying him. I think he still has a lot of talent left. I think he played to the best he probably could have with the team around him. I mean, I saw a clip earlier where he was trying to pep up his teammates, trying to give a little speech in a huddle, and nobody was having it. No, they were just standing there taking it. And Tom Brady, he was trying all he could, but Tampa Bay obviously didn't want to win. That team around him didn't care. And so I think he did the best he could in that situation. Obviously, he's not at his peak anymore. I think we're starting to see a little regression. But everybody's saying that, he came back because he has something to prove. He can't retire. Well, honestly, I think if he doesn't retire, he's just going to end up wasting his legacy. It's just going to be, we're going to remember him. Our generation is going to remember him for losing, for having a losing record, for in his last year at Tampa, possibly. And then, he's going to move teams. He's going to go to a better team to try to win. And then when he's not successful there, he's going to move teams again. I think it's just going to damage his legacy even more than going out, making the playoffs. I mean, yeah, you lost round 1, but you lost to a decent team, a pretty good team with, when Dak plays good, that team's almost one of the best in the league. And I think that, just continuing to go just because, I lost in the first round. I need to make it further than that. No, you don't. You have to think about, what does this do to my legacy and how will this affect it? I think continuing to play and then, you have a season of, you just don't do what you can do because you're just regressing. And that comes with the age. And so you have that season of, I didn't perform to my standards, so let me go somewhere else where I know I can do that. And then you run the risk of not doing that again. And he's only getting older. He's not going to go back to 2019, 2020 and be able to just produce at the highest level of his career. And I think no matter where he goes, I don't care if he goes to Miami where he can just throw 25 deep balls with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it's not going to be the same. And we're going to see that as he realizes that he's not as good, so he has to go to these better teams. And yeah, obviously the Patriots team was stacked, and the Tampa Bay was stacked, but they weren't just as they weren't as stacked. Like, that was Patriots were the team he was drafted to, and they built around him. Buccaneers, it was different because they were a team that was built. They were a good roster, and they were a quarterback away, and they got that quarterback. But he just performed at such a high level that you knew it wasn't just the weapons, it was him. But now I think if you go to a new team, you're going to think it's just the weapons. It's not Tom Brady anymore. I think he should retire because the legacy thing, it's you have enough losing seasons on your record. People are going to look back and say, why did we call this guy the GOAT? Yeah, he won a lot, but he also lost later in his career. It's a troubling situation. But anyways, moving on to the next point. Josh Allen is another quarterback who's being questioned. After his loss to the Bengals, he only put up 10 points. People are thinking, oh, well, this guy isn't as good as we thought he was, so he sucks now. Josh Allen doesn't suck anymore. Just because he lost doesn't mean he sucks. People have bad games. It just happens. It's ridiculous how quickly people are to shift on a player just off of one performance. Josh Allen is still a top 3 quarterback in the league. Joe Burrow is obviously taking over that second spot, and I think that's what this season was for. This season was Joe Burrow taking over Josh Allen as being the Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes' Tom Brady. And or other way around, I guess, since Burrow's winning more and probably going to win this weekend. But anyways, it's kind of like you can't just call somebody garbage after one performance. Josh Allen still executes not flawlessly anymore, but he executes very well with the offense of the Bills. He executes well. He does his job. And yeah, he makes mistakes. He throws picks. But that's because of how demanding the offense is of Josh Allen. That offense is reliant on him. Without Josh Allen, that team is probably not making the playoffs. If you put a 15th ranked quarterback on that offense, they're maybe the 6th seed, 7th seed. They're not winning the division, I'll tell you that. They're not beating the Dolphins. They might not beat the Patriots. They're not going to sweep the Patriots. And I think that's part of why Josh Allen is so good, because he's able to lead this offense. He's so reliant, or this offense is so reliant on him. It's honestly ridiculous on what results he's able to produce, no matter what this offense brings to him. He is able to make Gabe Davis look like a good wide receiver when really he's a wide receiver 3, not a wide receiver 2. He should be your third or fourth guy in the roster. He should not be the second guy you look at after Stephon Diggs is locked up. It's that receiving core needs more depth. And I think what Josh Allen is able to do with it and how he's able to make them look, he's still that guy. He's still the guy that we see hurdle over people and then run for another 20 yards. And I think the lack of success is more of an organization thing rather than a Josh Allen thing. I mean, the Bills GM said, quote, "I don't want to suck bad enough to have to get Jamar Chase," unquote. What does that even mean? I don't understand what that means. Like, you're mad that the Bengals were able to draft two of the best players in the league. You're mad that they were able to draft Joe Burrow, and since he got hurt, they got another top pick and they got a weapon for him. It doesn't make sense. He's just upset that he can't produce a winning team. He can't make a winning team. He can't buy a winning team. That's kind of what he's saying. He's saying that, oh, we have to pay all these guys because we weren't able to. We didn't have the luxury of having two top 5 picks back to back. And it's like, okay, you can still draft studs. There's plenty of good players after the first 10 picks. And like Amon-Ra St. Brown taken what in the 4th round? Like, you passed on him 3 times, and you're saying, "Oh yeah, I don't want to have to suck to get a good wide receiver for my franchise guy." You don't need to suck. You just need to know what you're doing. But it's so ridiculous on how like GMs are thinking. Like a lot of people are thinking nowadays, "Oh, I'll just give this guy money. Money is unlimited now." And then they get into a situation where they're paying their quarterback $100 or $40 million per year, and they can't sign anybody else because they're out of money. Packers. But even the Packers, they drafted receivers. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. Those are both great receivers that they drafted. And you know who else had the chance to draft them? The Bills. The Bills had the chance to get all these young guys in the league. Well, most of them, obviously, they couldn't get Jamar Chase because they didn't have that pick. You know, there's no point in trading up at that point. But they have a chance to get a lot of these young guys, and they're passing on them because, you know, it's just that's part of the draft. You know, you just don't make all your picks 100% perfect. And you can't fault other teams for knowing which guys to draft and building around those guys that they draft. It's a stupid thing to say. But that's all I have to say for this week. Honestly, for a first episode, it's gonna take a lot of getting used to. I hope this is something that I start to do better and enjoy and get people out there and listening to me, because this is something I want to do. And honestly, this was a really fun 30 minutes. But I hope you guys, whoever listened to this, enjoys it. Comes back for the next episode. I'll see you later.